Hey guys, it's Aaron, Wildman in the Cosmos here with Untamed Fishing with another video. I was just sitting here at my fly tying desk, tying up some zonkers here. Um, Burned through a couple of those already this year, plus I sold a couple dozen off eBay. And so I was sitting here thinking about what are some of the things that have set me up for success with steelheading over the past year and a half. So last year, over the fall season, I ended up catching about 150 steelhead, which for a first year steelheader, a lot of people told me that's pretty good. And I see a lot of people posting in steelhead groups, different places. I've never caught a fish. I've caught one or two. Maybe I catch 3 or 4 a year. And so I started thinking about what's the difference between someone that goes from catching zero, never having caught a steelhead before, to catching 150 in a season. And now here I am at, November 5 of the 2023-24 season, and about 50 fish so far year to date, season to date. Planning on going out Wednesday, hopefully get a bunch more. And, the number one thing I'm going to say is, I hired a guide early on. Now, you can hire a guide and go out with a guide and catch fish. Go hire a charter captain on a lake, go catch fish. That's a great time. It's a fun time. But when I hired that guide, my purpose of hiring the guide was specifically to learn how to catch steelhead. And I hired a good guide. He knew what he was doing. And, one of the first things we did, we caught a fish. And then we said, why? How did we catch that fish? What made that fish be sitting there? So we looked at the water. We looked at the water temperature. We looked at the different things that made that fish sit where it was in the water. And then we moved downstream to another spot. We looked at the water. We looked at the seams in the water. Learning how to read the water, he showed me all those things. Yeah, we could have possibly caught more fish that day had we just pushed it and pushed and pushed and, spot after spot. But the purpose was, let's look at the water. What's the water doing here? What's the water doing there? And then, so that was, set me up for success. Starting up was learning to read water. I ended up booking 3 trips with a guide, and each time learning what do. This time here, the water's super low and super clear. The fish are super finicky. Really have changed the presentation versus when the water's high and got some color to it. So then going into this fall, then after that experience with the guide, the first experience was in the spring, and then I had one with some employees in the fall that I took out, and then also with the guide solo. Going out, now it's fall season. I know what the fish are doing in the fall, and I end up catching a lot of fish. As soon as the temperature drops, boom, different game. I go out there, try my techniques that I've been trying. Skunked. Something's got to change up here. So I start, Googling, researching, asking people on the water, what are you guys using? What are you doing differently? Okay, I got to change up my technique. Boom, fish on. Okay, what did I do there? Always questioning the process, and learning, using different baits, using jigs, using beads, all these different things you can do. It's almost overwhelming. And some will say just stick with the same thing, present it differently. Those are all viable methodologies too. But the number one thing in that is always be looking to learn. And then all of a sudden it's springtime. Now it's different again. So that's the big thing to me, is always keeping a learning mindset while you are on the water. Another thing is, how much do you want it? How much do you want to catch fish? And for some of you, it may just be a day of getting out from the office, getting off of work, getting out in nature, relaxing. I catch a fish or 2, 3. Great. That's all I want to do. And if that's what it is, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no one saying you got to catch 20 fish in a day to be successful. I don't feel like I got to have 20 fish in a day to be successful. Some days I catch 1 or 2 and I have a great day on the water. So it's not about numbers. At the same time, I'm trying to improve who I am as a fisherman as fast as possible. So another thing is grinding. There's days that I grind, especially when I was first learning. I remember getting out onto the water, 45 minutes before sunrise, and fishing until it's too dark to fish, and just pounding the water and pounding the water. Some of those days it was midday, maybe 1, 2 in the afternoon before I got the first fish on. But then I'd catch 6, 7, 8, 10 fish, and people were like, wow, you really had a successful day. And I'm like, yeah, but I ground till I found the fish. Move, keep moving and find the fish, but we're willing to put in the miles to find those fish as well. Be willing to go to places the other people aren't willing to go. Yeah, sometimes you go hit a spot where everyone's hitting them and hook up with that. That works too. But yeah, keep a journal, keep a log. You know, this fall, for example, I went out one day and I got out there about 4:30 in the morning. It was dark and I was fishing glow beads. I was trying something different than I'd ever tried before. And I fished for 2.5 hours, didn't get a single bite. And then I shortened my leader, kept changing things up, and all of a sudden I found out that I was fishing with too long of a leader. I shortened my leader until I was fishing with beads, and I haven't fished a lot of beads. I shortened it till my bead was about 6 inches off the bottom, and all of a sudden, boom, fish on, just like that. And I proceeded to hook up probably 20 fish in the next 3 hours on that method. I'm like, oh, wow. So I went out there a week, 2 weeks later, and the water was quite a bit higher. I tried the exact same technique. It didn't work. I had to throw split shot on and increase the leader length to get them down to where the fish was because the water was higher. So it's always a game of changing and learning new techniques. Another thing is, be friendly to the people you meet on the water. Be courteous, be kind. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about in the steelheading world about the rude people. I haven't met the rude people. Now, I have this gift, a curse, whatever you want to call it. I like people. I like almost everyone I meet. And but I always try to help those around me in any way I can, but they also try to help me because I think if you're friendly, you try to be courteous to those around you. People want to help people. As long as you're courteous, as long as you're kind, people will want to help you. So those are a few things that for me have been huge difference makers. Also, you know, amount of times you get out in a year. You know, if you go out 2 or 3 times in a year, yeah, you're going to learn some stuff. But I think I went up there 33 times over the season last year, and I have to drive an hour minimum to the closest river. A lot of times I'm driving an hour and a half. It's a lot of dedication, it's a lot of fuel, it's a lot of time. Now, not everyone has that time, and I get that. That's why I say if you hire a really good guide, you know, that guide that I hired, that saved me. I probably learned what I could have learned in 2 or 3 years of fishing by myself in those 2 trips with the guide. But I paid a couple $500 with tip or a little more than that per trip. That can sound like a lot of money, but think about how much gas I would have burned up traveling an hour and a half to a river 20 times to learn the same thing. It wouldn't have been cheaper. So the biggest thing is stay humble, ask questions, always keep a learning mindset. And when you catch a fish, think about it. Why did this fish, why was it sitting where it was? What was the water temperature? When you're in this same situation in the future, remember that. And more than anything, just have fun out there on the water and keep learning. So thanks for watching. You have a beautiful day. Make sure you like, subscribe. It helps me out and helps my dream come true. Thank you. Catch you next time. Tight lines.